Hello and welcome to this tutorial on IK rigging. My name is Hayden Falzon from falzonfantasy.com and let's get started. Before we begin, let us go over a few definitions. What is IK? Well, IK stands for inverse kinematics. But exactly what is that? The standard model of animation in terms of the armature in Blender is FK. FK stands for forward kinematics. The difference between inverse kinematics and forward kinematics, simply put, forward kinematics uses the individual relationships in a chain to perform a movement, whereas inverse kinematics reverses a calculation down the chain to achieve a desired result. So the movement is seemingly automatic. Both have their uses, but inverse kinematics is particularly good at organic animation by making arcs so much easier when dealing with a lot of bones. And I'll demonstrate this now with my two pre-set up rigs. This top one here is a forward kinematic rig. This bottom one is an inverse kinematic. Let me show you how they work. If I want to put this person's hand, let's say up here, I can't just drag it up there. What I would have to do is I'd have to go through the chain individually to get the hand up there. By contrast, the inverse kinematic rig, all that I have to do is drag the hand up and orient it. Quite a stark difference in terms of ease of use. However, I would like to make very clear that both have their uses, and there is no one better than the other overall. They're just better in terms of more specific tasks. But let's get on to why you're here, to learn how to make this. First things first, I'm just going to move this out of the way. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate this arm mesh so we have something to work with. And I'm also going to make sure that the modifier is not there. Excellent. So we're going to work on this mesh and we're going to apply an IK rig to it. The first step will be to ensure that our 3D cursor is in the correct position. So then when we press Shift A and go down to armature and add a single bone, the single bone will be created where we're going to start our arm armature from. Next, we're going to navigate down to Object Data, and I'm going to change the viewport display type to be in front, and I'm going to say display as, instead of octahedral, I'm going to go to B-bone. What in front does, it essentially puts our bone in front of the mesh, so that we're able to see it even though it's inside the mesh, which just makes it a lot more easier to edit. Next, I'm going to go to edit mode by pressing tab, and I'm just going to create a very simple arm mesh. So I'm going to drag that to there, press E to extrude it on the X-axis, E to extrude again, and G to move on the X-axis, and we have our three basic bones. After that, I want to create my controller IK bones. So to do that, I'm going to first select this hand bone here. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate it. Then, after that, I'm going to press Control Alt S to scale it up. We also want to make sure that we go into our bone tab here and get rid of the parent, as well as uncheck deform. Next, we're going to create our IK pole target. So I'm going to come to this joint here, extrude out on the Y from it, grab the bone, disconnect it from its parent, uncheck deform, and drag it in Y space by pressing G. Excellent. Now I'm going to rename these bones to IK pole and IK target. Oops. Excellent. Now, if I was to go and directly parent this mesh with automatic weights to this armature, we would see that moving these bones does nothing as of yet. That's because it's still set to a forward kinematic model. So, in pose mode, to make this an inverse kinematic rig, what we're going to do is I'm going to select my IK target and then select the hand bone. Next, I'm going to press Shift I, add IK to active bones. As you'll see, there's a bit of deformation happening already, but it's not the correct type. So we're going to have to navigate to our bone constraints, and in the IK constraint, we're going to uncheck Use Tail. Now, when we move this bone here, we should see that it should be working properly. The chain length, when set to 0, goes up the entire chain of the bone and ends when that chain also ends. If you would like to specify the length of the chain, you can do so, but for my purposes here, 0 works just fine. Next, as you may have noticed before, when we move this bone, the hand bone does not align to the rotational value of it. So what we can do is we can add another constraint, a copy transforms, and then I'm going to just set the exact same target as the IK. Now, if we move this, you should see that the hand bone is copying the rotation of our IK bone, which is exactly what we want. After that, we're going to set our pole target. So, select our armature within our IK constraint, and then select IK pole. Now you may notice already a few problems. Firstly, we're having this really weird deformation happening here. So what we can do is we're going to have to change a few of the bone rolls. Okay, through trial and error, what I tend to do is it doesn't always work, but I tend to set the roll of the target IK to be 180 degrees difference than the pole angle. So in this case, I've set the pole angle to -90, and I've set the roll of the IK target to 90. However, I'm still a bit iffy on the specifics about it. If you would like to leave a comment down below as to how to set that up properly, please be sure to do so, and I'll make a follow-up video detailing that. However, for the most part, this seems to work. Now, when I go to move my new IK, the pole, the elbow, should be aligned to our pole, which is exactly how we want it to work. So yes, let's go over exactly what we did. First, we created our basic mesh. Then we created our bones. We scaled up and duplicated a bone for where our IK target was going to go, and we created a pole target, and we made sure both the IK target and the pole target were non-deformable and had no parent and connection. Next, we went on and used the shortcut Shift-I to generate an automatic IK constraint between our bones. And then we just set up the detail from there and applied a copy transform with our hand bone in relation to the IK target bone. And there we have it. That's how we create a basic IK rig. I hope that you've liked this video. If you've learnt something, please be sure to hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, hit that bell and subscribe button to be notified on a new content's release. Thank you so much for watching. This is Hayden Falzon from falzonfantasy.com signing off.